Game turn 2, post-Israeli movement. We have crossed the Jordanian border up here with the 6-1 Infantry Brigade, which was entrucked in Tel Aviv, paying +2 movement points to detruck, which we can do in an enemy zone of control. We can move and then detruck, but not the other way around, and the reason we detruct is so that we can attack, because entrucked units may not attack. And this unit will be targeting the 1-1 Egyptian infantry battalion here along the road. We also moved another 6-1 Infantry Brigade to isolate the 3-1 Jordanian Infantry Brigade along the border here, this rough road hex. This unit was occupying this fortified settlement. We moved it by truck along the road here, paying +2 movement points to do truck so that we can attack here shortly. Remember that the fear rule for the Arab player does not apply to Israeli Jordanian combat, including non-Jordanian units that begin in Jordan, and only applies to Egyptian and Syrian units. So this 3-1 Jordanian infantry unit, which is currently unsupplied and has no retreat path because of our zone of control up here around, from the north, will not be defending with twice its combat strength. This 1-1 unit would not have to retreat twice as far. Game turn 2, Israeli combat starting down here. The order of the attacks is especially important, of course, because we're dealing with a bloodless CRT, so the idea is to surround units, cut retreat paths, etc. So tentatively, the order down here, tentatively because you don't have to declare them all up front like this, but we're looking at 1, and then I think we'll go 2 and then 3 and see what happens. Let's take a look at combat up in Jordan, starting over here. We will be attacking the 3-1 infantry unit first. This unit is unsupplied and has no retreat path, so it's because the fear rule doesn't apply, we'll be defending with half of its combat strength rounded down, +2 for the terrain. So we're rolling on the +3, and we get a 3, which is a retreat result. This unit is eliminated, and we may advance. Now we're targeting this 1-1 Egyptian infantry battalion with a 6-1, +2 for the terrain, rolling on the +3. We roll a 6, which is a no effect. Next, taking a look over at Jerusalem and the surrounding area, we will be attacking this 3-1 infantry unit first with the 8-8 mechanized, +2 for the terrain, rolling on the +3. We roll a 2, which is a retreat result. Retreats along the road, and we may not advance because mechanized units may not move into rough terrain unless they're using a road. So next we'll be attacking the 1-1 infantry battalion, which is unsupplied and without a retreat path. An automatic retreat result, meaning this is eliminated, and even though it's an Egyptian unit, I don't believe it counts towards Egyptian point losses when determining Arab command control. So I'll place it down here. We may advance. Now taking a look up here in Syria. Let's see, this unit's across the bridge, but it's in a fort in rough terrain, so it's 2, 4, 6, 7. Instead we'll be attacking this unit, same situation, but we have a +5 in attack superiority. We roll a 1, which is a retreat result since this is a Syrian unit. The fear rule applies and it must retreat 2 hexes, twice as far along the road. Oops. And we may advance. And over here in Transjordan, we'll be attacking the 3-1 infantry in clear terrain across the river, defending with +2. Up to 5 we're attacking on the +8 and automatic retreat result, taking the unit down here. we may not advance after combat. Israeli units may not enter Transjordan unless the Jordanians have attacked an Israeli fortified settlement or city other than Jerusalem. So we're nearing the end of the Israeli combat phase of game turn 2. Obviously not all attacks have been resolved on camera, but here's a look at the situation along the Sinai front after all attacks have been resolved. A couple of Egyptian units are now out of supply and will not be able to attack until they can trace supply back to their friendly map edge via clear and or road hexes. So there's one thing left for us to do as the Israeli player before we end our combat phase, and that's to place these 4 airstrike markers on the board. And each marker adds 3 movement points to the cost of exiting a hex. So I was thinking of placing them in Sinai, specifically on these mechanized units closest to us. But looking over at the situation around Jerusalem, I think I might go ahead and spend 2 to prevent the 7-6 Armored Brigade from moving, closing in on our unit in Jerusalem. So looking at the Arab command control table, we see there's a 50-50 chance of getting either odds or evens. We're still at under 15 Egyptian point losses. So I'd probably spend the other 2 placing them on even hexes or odd hexes. It's a tough choice, but I think I'm gonna go odds. So it's a little risky, but that means 1 here. And one back here. Hopefully that works out. The other 2 will go on the 7-6 Armored. Now we resolve Arab command control. We're hoping for an even roll. And we roll a 6. Okay, so that worked out really nicely. All of the Egyptian units that are in even hexes get flipped. It's quite a few, most of them. And we have a unit in Syria that's in an even hex, not in a Syrian fort that also gets flipped, 1-1 infantry that retreated. And the units that begin in Jordan are unaffected. So now we check supply. These units are still unsupplied, the rest are supplied. We have all the units in Jordan, which are supplied, and all the Syrian units are supplied. So now we resolve Arab Movement. I have a tendency to miss this unit. It's also in an even hex under the tripod. Okay, now Arab Movement. Turn 2, Arab combat. Our first attack will be against this fortified settlement across the border in the clear. It's automatically destroyed with a +4 attack superiority. It has an intrinsic strength of 2, so we only need the 6th strength infantry. We'll use the 7th strength Armored Brigade to destroy the settlement. And next we'll be attacking the 6th strength Infantry Brigade in New Jerusalem. the city has a +4, the rough is a +2 to that, cumulative. So they're defending with 12. And we're attacking with 12, only 12, because 2 airstrike markers are placed on the 7-6, preventing it from moving forward along the road. So that's a 0 differential. We roll a 6, no effect. So that ends game turn 2. Here's a look at the board before we flip the Arab units face up again, just to give you an idea of how the units that have lost command control have moved. Basically, along these roads ever closer to the Suez Canal. Game turn 3, post-Israeli movement over in the Sinai, working slowly but steadily on goal A, being the last to pass through or occupy all Suez crossing hexes on the east side of the canal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes on this side of the canal. So we have still quite a ways to go, but we're game turn 3 and almost here at the halfway point with some of our units. And at the same time trying to hopefully eliminate Egyptian units here left behind, which is easier said than done because first of all, the CRT is bloodless and friendly units suppress enemy zones of control. And even with the fear rule, which would force units to retreat twice as far, if able, we also have situations like here and here where the unit has no retreat path, is unsupplied, and therefore, because it cannot retreat, will be defending at twice its printed combat strength. So this 5-5 unit, for example, just because we have it isolated, it'll still be require a lot of combat strength points to eliminate. We're looking at a +4 attack superiority to guarantee elimination. And we've instructed a couple of these infantry units to hopefully next be able to move on to this road, for example. And we're slowly moving our supply unit forward deeper into the Sinai as well, by 1 hex at a time. So one of the goals to accomplish by eliminating more Egyptian units is to gain 2 more Egyptian point losses so that we could start including this final column on the Arab command control table, which will help a lot, I think. So we have 13 and we need 15 for that. It's just a couple more. And then I'm trying not to get too fixated on clearing all units from the Sinai portion of the map, since it's not our primary objective of reaching these hexes. But I'm not sure how much that's built into achieving goal A, how much of a prerequisite it would be. So far I see no reason not to attempt this. We're on game turn 3 again, and I feel like in 12 turns, well, the sooner we can accomplish the better. So maybe once we reach this halfway point or a little past it, when we have more of this rough terrain and more of this purely desert sand hexes, it would be easier to cut the supply line between the Egyptian map edge to the friendly units behind, which means that they would not be able to attack, for example, our fortified settlements in Israel, because Israel at the moment, there are very few of our units there, and they're engaged with units in Jordan, along the border here in Syria, and also keeping an eye out on our cities, Haifa, Tel Aviv. New Jerusalem is in trouble, I'd say, but we're able to spend. It does take half of our airstrike markers to prevent the 7-6 from moving in. As long as we can do that, I think that we can hold out in New Jerusalem as well. The city itself offers +4, and the rough terrain a cumulative +2 to that, to the 6 already there. And goal, speaking of the West Bank, goal C is clearing all Arab units from the West Bank, the second most valuable Israeli goal, and we are working on that as well. So it's not a situation where we're completely focused on the Sinai, and then once we have that under control, switching gears, we're actually working on all 3 of our goals bit by bit, with our main focus over in the Sinai portion of the map. So we have a situation here where we're stacked up here on ready to attack infantry units on either side of the 7-6 Jordanian Armored Brigade that just destroyed one of our settlements, so that it can move in along these roads to isolate the unit. And we've entrucked one of the 6-1 Infantry Brigades here in the center, and we'll probably be, we'll see what happens, but maybe we can use it over in Syria, where we hope to achieve goal B, clearing all Arab units from the Syrian portion of the map, which would be easier to do if we can push the Syrians out of their fortified positions so that the Arab command control losses would apply to those units, and since they're so close to their map edge, they may quickly be exited that way, never to return. So yeah, that about does it for the update. Game turn 3, post-Israeli combat, taking a look at Jordan and Syria. We made progress in Jordan, in the West Bank, forcing this 1-1 Egyptian infantry battalion to retreat a hex. It's not affected by the fear rule, since it began in Jordan, and we were able to advance through purely rough terrain because we're the Israeli player, here with the 6-1 Infantry Brigade. And we also forced a retreat here and advanced the 8-1 Infantry up, leaving the 8-8 mechanized here along this road in clear terrain. And then we attacked the 6-1 Infantry, Jordanian Infantry Brigade with their 2 6-strength units, forcing a retreat along the road so that we can move forward also through this all rough terrain. So we're feeling a little better about the situation here around Jerusalem, and may not have to use our airstrike markers on this unit now, so that we can spend them all in Sinai. Up here we were able to force the 6-1 Infantry to retreat along the road to stack with the 7-1 Armored, and then advanced both units across the border. And we succeeded in forcing retreat here as well, the 3-1 along the road towards this Iraqi unit, and deciding not to advance. We were successful against the 2-5 Armored Brigade in Syria, which is affected by the fear rule, and retreated all the way back to this edge hex. We advanced the 7-8 Armored Brigade along the road. So let's take a look at the situation along the Sinai front and place our airstrike markers. So we were able to successfully eliminate the 5-5 and 3-4 Egyptian units, the 5-5 Armored Brigade, 3-4 Mechanized Infantry Brigade, bringing Egyptian point losses well above 15. And we up here decided to go for an attack against the 2-1 infantry here behind the stack of 2 3-strength infantry units. Now these units are isolated. I'm not sure if we'll attempt to eliminate this stack. That would be difficult since they would be defending with 12. And I think instead we'll take advantage of the fact that they must trace supply along roads and clear terrain to continue to block supply to them. perhaps a similar situation over here, although it's more difficult. We do have these kind of isolated individual hexes of rough terrain that might make it easier to do so. So we've stacked together here, as well as down here. Weaker units stacking with these stronger units. We decided to advance the 4-1 infantry forward after eliminating the Egyptian mechanized infantry, and remain where we are here. So we're going to place our airstrike markers. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Arab command control. We roll a 3. That's odds plus 4. Odds is what we were hoping for, since that affects all of these units. I'll have to check to see if the airstrike marker may prevent them from exiting. There are units in Syria that are affected as well. This is a tough scenario as expected for the Arab player. And of course, we can't forget this unit down south. So we've just exited the 2-5 Syrian Armored Brigade. We'll move this 1. And I forgot to flip this, 3603. So we'll move it 1. So the units must move their full supply modified movement allowance within all normal terrain and airstrike restrictions towards the supply source. So these units are affected by the airstrike plus 3 movement point cost to exit. So this has 2. This 2. One hex. Now let's resolve combat in Jordan, the West Bank. Starting down here, we, as the Arab player, will choose to attack this infantry unit in the rough instead of the one defending the city, because the best we can do here is to force a 1 hex retreat without the ability of advancing after combat, because the city is not yet destroyed. It would have to be attacked again, well vacated, with a plus 4 attack superiority. So this is, the city has an intrinsic strength of 4, which it does add to the defending unit, plus 2 for the rough. So we need 10 on the second attack. On the first here, they're defending with 12, and we would be on the plus 1. So instead we're attacking the 6-1 in the rough on the plus 1. And we roll a 2, get lucky. It's a 1 hex retreat. We may advance. We don't have enough strength points to make this attack. Up here, this stack is defending an undestroyed fortified settlement. So it's a similar situation, except the settlement does not add its intrinsic strength of 2 to the defending stack. Over here, though, they have 11 plus 2 for 13 in rough terrain, and in this hex we have 13. So let's go ahead and try that attack. We roll a 3, close, but not quite. No effect. Game turn 4, mid-Israeli movement. Just showing a quick little movement here along the coast. So we didn't do this last time, but we will be overrunning this 2-1 Infantry Brigade further down the road. I don't think we had quite enough movement points last time, or we simply forgot, it's possible. So it's +3 movement points to do so. 1, 2, 3, 6. Eliminating the unit, and we'll hop back onto this road hex to finish up the movement. Now, to ensure that this unit is isolated, we'll move this 9-8 up 1, 2. Game turn 4 post-Israeli movement. So what I'm finding, well, first of all, I was debating whether I should start sending units up to Jordan, but I think it might be a little too soon. Second of all, it's very tricky maneuvering around Jordan, which is mostly rough terrain. I mean, there are quite a few roads, but what makes it difficult is that mechanized units are prohibited from purely rough terrain, even Israeli units. And the other thing is, if you're entrucked, if you have an infantry unit that's entrucked, it may move and then detruck for +2 movement points, but it may not detruck and then move. And I accidentally had the entrucked a unit, a 6-1 infantry unit, thinking I might swing it up around to the northern part of to the northern border here, but it's difficult because you can't, in addition to that, move directly from an enemy zone of control to another unless you're conducting an overrun. So you have to step out and step back in and do the hokey pokey. And in such tight quarters, it's getting complicated maneuvering to a good position in the West Bank to begin clearing the region of Arab units, one of our goals. But we'll see what happens. Things are looking pretty good in Syria, although we have a 5-1 unit that I believe begun the game here in this hex and hasn't moved since it's hopped on a truck, it's hopped off a truck, but hasn't really moved because it doesn't really have the combat strength to attack across this bridge by itself. There's a 1-strength Syrian Infantry Brigade in the rough in a fort across the river. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7. So we're at a -2 differential with just the 5. And we are leaving the unit there because it is exerting its zone of control to the hex south of it. On the other hand, things are looking better up here against the stack in the north, although it does have a retreat path to stack with the unit in question. But at that point we would then have completely surrounded the unit and also have cut off its supply, unless... no. Well, let's see. There's a blue line which is a non-existent road, so this entrucked unit would not be able to move directly into the hex south of the unit in question, but it would be able to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's a good thing the Syrians entrucked this unit in the south. I think that was the goal, to be able to move it quickly along the road to connect back up to the friendly map edge. Here's some turn 4 Israeli combat over in the West Bank. We'll start by attacking this 3-strength Jordanian Infantry Brigade. In this rough road hex, they get a +2 for the rough terrain, bringing them to 5. We're attacking with the 8-strength infantry on the +3, and we get a 4, which is a 1 result. And this unit would have to only retreat 1 hex either way. And it must retreat along this road. And we'll go ahead and advance. And next target this unit, 7-6 Armored Brigade, also in a rough road hex with the 8 and the 6. They're defending with 9, including the +2 for the rough terrain. And we're attacking with 14, so that's on the +5, and we get a 5, which is a 1 result. This unit must retreat along this road, and we'll stay where we are. Next up here, They're defending with 5 and 1 in rough terrain, so that brings them to 8. We're talking with 12 on the +4. We roll a 3, which is a 2 result. The mechanized unit must retreat 2 hexes along this road, and the infantry unit 1 hex. And I'll go ahead and retreat just this 1 unit, so that maybe this can move into this through the all rough terrain in the next movement phase. So here's a look at the rest of the board at the end of the Israeli combat phase. I'm getting ready to place the 4 airstrike markers. We'll place 1 here and 1 here. I have 2 left, I have to think about that. But you can see that we've made it to, well, this is hex row 1500, where the rough terrain reaches this point. It feels like the halfway mark, if not very close to it. So things are looking pretty good, and we managed to eliminate 3 more Egyptian infantry brigades, along with this 3-4 mechanized brigade. So things are looking pretty good, although I don't think I should be getting too comfortable since we are in a rush. The sooner the better. We may not even make the number of victory points needed for an Israeli victory, even though it looks very good for them on the board, just because of the time factor. I think I'll place the 3rd airstrike marker on this 3-4 mechanized brigade in Gidi Pass, and then the 4th one over in Syria on this Intruct unit. So that way it doesn't have quite enough movement points to make it up to that hex where it can suppress our zone of control. Now, one thing to note is that enemy zones of control do not extend into cities or fortified settlements unless they've been destroyed, and that's one thing that I am pretty sure I've been forgetting to take advantage of. So I'll try to remember for next time. Moving on. Turn 4 Arab command control. We roll a 4, which is evens, and 5. So this is 6. This stacks on a 2. 1, 1, 8, 7, 9, 0. These airstrike markers are kind of a disadvantage to the Israeli player when it turns out that you place them on units that have lost command control. Can't forget this unit down here of 4. And up here, Syrian unit 3704. The ones in the forts are fine, and this in the corner is on a 1.